All right, welcome everybody. I am Paddo. With me is L-Man Beastio in Atlanta, and we're going to be breaking down patch 0.32 for this week's version of the Duelyst patch rundown. And we have some awesome brand new cards for you. We have Zuriel, who's a cool rejuvenator type guy, going to be able to bring you guys back after a big board wipe. We have a new card for Songhai called Mistwalking. Don't worry, it's actually the old card is still there. And then we also have a card named after me. Yes, it's Paddo. Paddo's gonna be airdropping on the field and scattering everything into the wind. It's gonna be chaos. It's gonna be awesome. Atlanta. Let's start off with Paddo. My card. Do you think this card can be good? Do you think it'll be played in any competitive decks? Where do you think it falls?
I've been told that although it says teleports all nearby units to random tile, this also includes generals. So, this means that in a backstab deck, you could teleport your opposing general in a backstabbable position and backstab them. Or, especially with the other new card, Mistwalking, you could potentially get in for, say, a backstab mask or something. And I also think that it there's a lot of potential in Magmar as well, since you can cast it on a Vindicator potentially if you flash it, or even if it Vindicator survives for a turn. The only thing is that Padddo does teleport Vindicator away as well, but I believe that it still gets rush, so it doesn't actually matter. The Vindicator's nearby after Padddo's summoned, and it also means that you could clear out all of the provokes potentially from somebody if they're blocking themselves. So there's a lot that could happen with this card depending on where the creatures and generals land when you play it. And since it has airdrop, you can do whatever you want with it. And you can hit yourself with it too if you wanted to. So it's just anything can happen with this card. And I really just want to play it for the raw fun value of seeing what happens every time you play it. But it could be legitimately good in a backstab deck or a kind of a later game Magmar deck where you could utilize the 12 damage, and in the Songhai deck you can teleport. You can just use the teleport to your advantage. And as a bonus, you could use it with the Shadow Creep deck, where you bounce the creatures nearby Shadow Creep, potentially on Shadow Creep. So that could be interesting too.
Yes, the good old, as I believe has been coined, the Russian roulette play, if you will. But L-Man Beastio, what are your thoughts on Paddo, where its strengths, weaknesses are, and how it's going to be used?
I just want to say, he looks freaking awesome. Like, honestly, to me, he looks kind of like an antagonist, like turn good guy, that type of character. Whatever, he looks badass. Another thing is that 12 attack is huge. Like only like 5 minions in the whole game have 10 or more attack, and that's basically half a general's health. So I don't have to respect this card getting near you. I mean airdrops, so it's gonna be near you. The cool thing though is you kind of to allure to what Atlanta said, to teleport provokes away and stuff. Since he airdrops, you can pretty much control who gets teleported, and it might be Paddle soloing the general because everyone else was teleported away. And the 6 health is actually nice because obviously the general's not gonna attack this guy. And it survives like Sarah Spines and Night Sorrows by itself. It would need like a second trick or some other removal, so it's like just tanky enough. Like it's not super tanky, but it's just tanky enough to survive some of the removal. Then yeah, the Vindicator play is kind of cool because if it does work out, timing strike for the opening gambit, you teleport every provoke away and dunk them for 12. So it's kind of cool because you already know Magmar has like the Fractal combo and the Twin Fangs combo decks, but this one's like I would say it's can't play around there as much, right? Like something we people don't do often as the other combos is like just provoke and like run away, right? Like it tends to be that the combo hits them straight on when they do happen, and you can provoke against this combo, so it's actually pretty cool.
Well, that's enough about me. Let's look at another big guy that came and dropped in. Zuriel the Life Giver, pretty much a kind of anti kind of board wipe creature, but with the addition of Nether Summoning, which we had come back in last patch or a couple patches ago. You've been extensively playing it. How does Zuriel kind of fit in compared to Nether Summoning, in your opinion, Elman BCO?
So yeah, I'm very glad you brought up Nether Summoning because these two are pretty comparable. But if you think of Nether Summoning as being like properly valued at 5, then for 2 mana you're getting a 4/7 and a similar effect. It's not exactly the same, but it's just a lot of value if you think about it in those terms. The other thing though is you have to consider the windows that each card has. So like Nether Summoning could actually steal your opponent's minions if you timed it right. Steal stuff on your turn, or if their stuff died on their turn, right? Zuriel is more about getting back your own board because he revives whoever died on your opponent's turn only. But there's also no cap to this card. It's not 2 minions that die. Could be like the whole board comes back, right? And then the other thing is they get randomly summoned somewhere. So if rush creatures or rush minions come to mind, because if they revive in the right spots, then they'll attack immediately on those turns. So it's gonna be weird it's gonna be interesting because you could bring your whole board back and rush people and maybe get lethal or clear their board while summoning a 4/7. Like it's actually pretty cool. And he's a Phoenix Dragon. Like, what the hell? Just awesome.
Yes, I actually think Counterplay really nailed it here with the whole Phoenix motif with the being able to bring your army back to life. Definitely a good art nail right there. Those guys are so talented over there, turning making cards represent what they actually are. But looking over here at Mistwalking, Songhai gets another mobility card. It's 2 movement. So Atlanta, tell me, like, how big is 2 movement? Is that actually like really useful as a card? Where does Mistwalking really stand out compared to my other options like Silhouette Tracer and cards like that?
I think it's a really good card. One of the main things is since it's a spell, it'll trigger all of your spell triggers, as opposed to something like Silhouette Tracer, which is a creature. So this spell access allows you to do things like 0 mana Mistwalking with like a Mana Forger out, or you pick up 3 Mistwalkings off of Heaven's Eclipse and you just jump across the board. I could see this card being really useful in sort of the ranged mask or backstab mask decks, as well as the basically all the mask decks. Blood Rage mask deck can also use this card since it's a very inexpensive card that can trigger Blood Rage mask, and it also gets you away if you're doing the Blood Rage mask, just use a bunch of burn spells to kill them, or if you're doing the other aggressive Blood Rage mask approach where you just want to hit them constantly, then Mistwalking is a great way to get in for more damage as well. And it also gets you out of provokes, which is one of the biggest issues that Songhai will have if their opponent's deck is well teched against them, is that you could get surrounded by provokes pretty quickly if you don't have really strong draws. And the difference between this card and Silhouette Tracer when it comes to being surrounded by provokes is that if you're in a corner and you can't actually play any minions, then Tracer won't work because you won't be able to play the Tracer body down anywhere. But Mistwalking, you'd be able to play the spell pretty much any time, so you have a much more flexible escape route with Mistwalking. The big issue, I guess, with Mistwalking is that it takes up a deck slot and it doesn't do anything by itself necessarily. You need other cards in order to make the card better. Whether it's reducing the mana cost, fetching it with Heaven's Eclipse, or using it with any of your masks to enhance the masks, those take other cards in order to do so. So that's, I guess, the big thing with Mistwalking is that when you're making a Songhai deck, you have to make sure that you have enough cards that are good by themselves in order to not make Mistwalking another dead card amongst all the other dead cards you'd be running. So it's definitely very specifically for certain builds of Songhai, but it's a really cool card for Songhai, and I really like it.
Just a quick note on that too. Mistwalking isn't fully gone. Actually, the old version of Mistwalking is now Ancestral Divination, so you can still look forward to seeing that card or being able to use that card in Songhai decks if you're running some of those currently. But we do have a card that has been changed. So Rook, big 7-cost guy, 5/5, and now he used to be that big huge frenzy threat that grew as he frenzied other minions. Now he actually gets a random ability at the end of his turn. A random faction ability that actually is. So he'll get Backstab, he'll get Blast, he'll get Death Watch drop to 5 cards, or Growth +5/+5, stuff like that. Now, my question over to you, LMBCO, is how do you think this guy fits? Because we just had 2 huge, big 7-cost bombs drop. Does a 5/5 for 7? Is he too slow? Like, where does he actually fit in? Like is he mainly like a power fantasy? Like, where do you think this guy is going to be able to make a splash, if any?
I see it 2 ways. Like, he's basically become. I guess he already kind of was like a live the dream card, because frenzying creatures and getting bigger from the old Rook was actually pretty cool, but it was a little slow, right? And like couldn't like basically give it rush. And goes back to Vindicator. It wasn't like very easy to make the old Rook work, but this one, I guess the 2 things I think about it kind of go hand in hand. He's basically lived the dream, and he's like a selfish game value over time card. Like Pandora is like the unselfish, I guess, right? Like she creates more value by spawning things, but if she dies, then she already left all her pets, right? But Rook is more about complete selfish, like carry the team solo. I'm gonna become huge, blast for 1,000,000 damage, like grow forever, 1-shot generals eventually, draw cards. Like, it's all about me. And it's actually like a cool fantasy, right? Like, I'm just solo carrying the team, like. So like, I don't know, the card looks mega fun right now, and hopefully we see more play of it, because it had that like bazooka, like the bazooka grinding on the ground to like make it blow up was like super cool. So like, I don't know, you get to live the dream basically with Rook. He is kind of super weak at first though. 7 mana 5/5 is like laughable, but gonna carry the game solo. He needs to be protected somehow, and like stay away from the fight for a little while. He's like basically in the gravity chamber just training. So like, we'll see. Like,
And with that, that's going to wrap up patch point 32. Thanks to LMBC Atlanta for joining me as always, and tune in next week to get some more awesome Duelyst patch rundown action.